Hi everyone, this is Devlina welcoming you all to another Power Pack episode of Icons Behind Brand. And I am glad to be announcing our guest for today, Mr. Neil Pandya, the CEO of Pixis One APAC region. And we are honored to have among a man with brilliant experience at renowned organizations, including L'Oreal and Vodafone, an expert in digital marketing, ranging over 14 years of experience. Mr. Pandya believes in growth and success, and we wish him nothing but the best of his big leap as a CEO. Thank you for joining us, Neil, and we are so happy to have you in Icons Behind Brand.
But I'm really happy to be part of this conversation today.
And we are more than happy, Neil, to have you here, and so excited to know about your journey, and many congratulations for the big leap, joining as a CEO. So how does it feel like becoming a leading AI infra CEO now, and what changes can we look forward, Neil?
It sounds too big, but to be very honest, I have tried my best to pick up roles in my entire career which challenged me. And I was extremely fortunate that brands like L'Oreal, Vodafone, GroupM came to my kitty, and I was fortunate enough to work with them. If you know, Devlani, a little bit about my background, I have been into media and marketing on the brand side for almost 13 years. And I've been part of this evolving marketing digital technology. And I understand advertisers' perspective deeply. And I always had this inclination towards technology. And when Pixis came to my way, it was a very natural choice towards my career. After all the years into research, media, marketing, I look forward to being the forefront of AI revolution in our country and globally. And and if you ask me what are my immediate perspective in the next 2 to 3 months and what do you expect, I think that it's very two-folded. I mean, first of all, in the next, it's internal and external. In the first 3 months, I'm going to ensure I set up a sales team, a marketing team, processes, everything in place, because we really want to become $1 billion organization pretty soon into AI infrastructure space. So that's, in order to reach that goal, we need to ensure that our pillars are really strong internally. So we're going to go work forward on that. And on externally, I think so I would do a job of education, or maybe bridging the gap between what are the AI offerings and what do marketers need actually. Because end of the day, this bridge is really important. In my entire experience from visualizing the every marketing spend, sitting at a marketer would help me to bridge this gap and build relationships. I think these are the only two objectives we're going to look at it in next 3 to 4 months. In a startup world, we don't talk about an annual or a 2-year objective. We look at the 3 months, 6 months, and go into 1 year. So yes, lots of things to look at it, and hopefully a lot of positives from my end as well.
And we wish you all the very best for all your future plannings. And I'm super excited for this conversation, which is based on, a digital marketing perspective. And there are a lot of aspiring marketers. There are startup owners, technology startup owners. They look for marketing and how we can, bridge the gap between technology and marketing, and we can optimizing it better. So looking forward to this conversation, Neil.
Exactly, me too.
So Neil, we have witnessed a huge cultural change and behavioral change in people's mind and in their lifestyle too. So how these outside forces and trends are impacting the consumer behavior, and what are the emerging marketing trends for marketers?
Okay, you have covered a lot of things in one question. So let me just try and break it down and try and answer each one of them. I think, first of all, I think the rise and fall of pandemic, Devlina, has left people scared for themselves and their loved ones. And because of that, there is a lot of behavioral and consumer mindset changes which we have been observed. I mean, imagine a situation. I never thought that my mom and dad will operate banking through mobile phones or digital. I mean, banking as an industry digitally was penetrated among youngsters more rather than the elderly audience. So that's the change which I saw at my household. I imagine situations ordering vegetables through WhatsApp from the vegetable seller down the lane. I mean, these are the changes which are coming up. And one of the biggest changes which I saw in my previous organization also was purchasing makeup without trying it. I mean, that's a big leap change which we have observed, where consumers are ensuring and showing confidence in buying products online. I think these are the larger changes I've observed, and Devlina, these changes are also from a perspective, I would say, because we were put into a situation. I mean, the pandemic was there, social distancing, lockdown was announced, and because of this, we all of us started adapting to new things, and lot of changes came into picture. And if I go to your last part of your question, which is about emerging trends, I think those trends also have emerged because of the situation which we are put into. So for me, there are multiple trends which we have seen in last 1 year or 2 years, but I think the ones which have struck me personally would be globalization. When I say globalization, Devlina, we are right now living into a virtual world, and we really do not get bothered with how to choose a sales partner. So if I am sitting in Bangalore and there is a customer sitting in US who has a requirement which I can sit here sitting in Bangalore, I do not have to identify vendors in my region or my country. So I think globalization in business is one of the biggest trend I am observing, and we are not shying away trying people, not sitting, not catching up them over the table or something like that. We are happy. We are doing a Zoom call right now and recording this. I think these are the facts which I see. And another striking change which is more relevant to my career also is adoption of AI. I have been believing into AI for years now, and now over the years, when most of the consumers today are little bit educated about AI, but they are showing more confidence of adopting it internally. I think that they are not isolating or alienating AI away. I think these are the two big emerging trends I'm observing as of today.
That's right. So, as you said, that the adoption of technology, AI, has accelerated. I mean, the situation has accelerated the adoption much faster, not only among the youngster, but in every age group, every demographic, and every region.
Exactly. I just give an example of, if you see digital spends in our country only, I mean, they are growing right now at 30% year on year, whereas the overall advertising spend is growing at 8%. So imagine how much confidence people are showing into digital as an adoption, and that's one of the very plain fact of an example which we are observing in day-to-day life.
That's right, and digital adoption is not just an adoption right now. That has come in the forefront of every marketing spend at this point of time. Right?
Exactly.
So yeah. So I have gone through with your experience, Neil. You have a huge experience in AI and programmatic ads. So I would love to know from you that if you are given an unlimited budget on programmatic ad this quarter, how you are going to do? I mean, what you're going to do with that?
I mean, this is a very interesting question. I mean, an unlimited budget with a bad strategy is equal to it's even worse than having no budgets. So first of all, I think having any type of a budget, you need to have structured strategy into place. And I will rephrase your question, because I think putting unlimited budgets and programmatic in one sentence wouldn't sound good, because the objective of programmatic is to ensure that whatever budget you have is sharply targeted, optimized to the maximum level. So if I rephrase your question from unlimited budget to heavy budget, for example, like a aggressive budget for a brand, and I take an assumption that my objective is awareness and conversion both, how I'm going to use that. And first of all, I will use programmatic. I belong to a community which is Gujaratis, and we believe ROI is the biggest for any investment which we do. So I think first of all, I will ensure that through programmatic, I will not waste any of the media spends or marketing spends I'm doing it. So I will target the audience, cap them with the frequency, and reduce all the duplication. So that will serve my purpose of programmatics first. My second purpose of programmatic, I think, Devlani, which I will really be interested to do, is to create personalization at scale. When I say that, imagine a situation. I mean, there is a hard fact. So Devlina, if you would have heard, there is 1% of the creative globally which are clutter breaking or thumb stopping or something like that. And in order to ensure whatever creative which we are doing, which are far effective, I think we need to bring personalization at a scale. So imagine an example where there is a lipstick ad which talks about a generalized statement in super stay matte ink lipstick available for Devleena. But I know that Devleena loves coffee, and I personalize that creative in a way that Devleena, do not worry about your lipstick getting faded and you have to go into a meeting. Just enjoy your coffee. The effectiveness which Devleena would love to engage with that creative will be really high. So I think that's personalization I would really want to bring into if I'm given an unlimited budget or heavy budget. And lastly, if I go literally when you said unlimited budgets, rather I will take some portion and invest into programmatics, but I will also invest into things like DMP, CDP, where I am investing consumer data points within an organization and I'm not dependent on a third party platform. Imagine a cookieless world. In that world, I will have my own investment done into the right place. I have the right data with me and I'm not supposed to be worried in the future. I think that's where I will invest, Devleena, and I hopefully have taken the name correct.
Yes, yes. And perfect example, Neil. I just love the way you explained it. It's so simple, the way you have explained that complex thing in a simplest way. And rightly said that more than the budget, your strategy matters. It's the creative matters, it's the concept matter, and the connection, which I feel the best. I mean, when you connect better, that's where your half of the work is done.
Exactly.
Amazing. Awesome. So now that we are talking about data, so in the world of data and algorithm, how do you balance between dealing with the data yet connecting with the emotions with the consumers?
So if I understand your question correct, I mean, data is what helps brand to connect consumers personally. I gave you an excellent example earlier about if I know Devleena through the data which I have about you, I'm really going to ensure that I create an emotional connect with you. If I do not have data and algorithm in place, I might sound like any other Tom, Dick and Harry, and you would be least interested and you will be not even engaging with my clients. I mean, there are 8 billion plus people on the planet, and data and algorithm can help us target better, help us serve the ads personalized way, and ensure that consumers' interest and life stages are taken into consideration. I think that's one. I also believe that big data is the backbone for any connection between brands and consumers, and companies who provide tools like for example Pixis tools, who provides an AI infrastructure tool, helps brand to manage this big data and turn into an actionable insight. It's what it would be called the spinal cord of the backbone. So I think data is the backbone. Organization offering AI, ML, learning, algorithm is the spinal cord. And at the same time, if we merge both of them together, Devleena, that's where the emotional connect will come. I mean, gone are the days when one size fits all kind of a scenario. You need to personalize, you need to ensure you are knowing your consumer more than what they know about you. I think that's where it's going to help on a larger objective.
So, if I have to sum it up, it's like the consumer connect is the foundation, is the base. We cannot escape that part at all. And data helps us connecting better with the consumer.
Exactly. I think I'm glad you understood it with one statement, and hopefully people who are listeners also understand the same terminologies which we are talking.
It was explained so well, Neil, so that is helping us to understand it in a very simplest way. So, yeah. Moving on to how do you see the market opportunities and the new market, Neil?
I guess the pandemic which has currently happened has definitely led to a lot of downfalls for not only individuals' mindset, but also organization itself. But at the same time, Devleena, I think I also believe that this pandemic has opened up multiple opportunities for advertisers, for business growth opportunities, and etc. For me, if you ask me personally, which is the biggest opportunity for most of the advertisers and marketers, is taking your business online. I mean, imagine a situation, the adoption of online business has been 2x, 3x in last couple of years. I mean, if you and me would have talking like 3 years back before pandemic, we would have spoken that, the digital adoption is still 5 years more down the run to be there. But I don't want to call it or sound it like thanks to pandemic, but I think because of pandemic, the adoption has accelerated really fast. So I think biggest opportunity for any marketer right now is to go online. And imagine, I give you an example earlier also, purchasing a lipstick online where no one would even prefer, or a makeup online, no one would even prefer earlier to trial it on yourself. There are beauty advisors at Shoppers Stop or multiple other occasions where you go try and then you decide, okay, I'm going to buy that. But if these businesses also have started selling online with multiple folds, I think it's high time that everyone goes and find opportunity into online. So that's the biggest opportunity. And if you ask me personally, I think this is a very personal comment and no other relation to it. I believe there is the biggest business opportunity which has already seen a global wave, which is called cryptocurrencies. I mean, this is an entire new ecosystem which I believe personally which is growing, and sooner or later, if you are an early adopter, this system has potential to become replacing currencies over the world, replacing wallets over the world, and it has already started. We have already started seeing this in US and other markets, and I think it's one of the new business opportunity for marketers. But that's a very personal comment. I think these are a couple of things I believe which are big and which are happily great opportunities for marketers and business owners.
So like they say, every crisis, that opens up a lot of opportunities. So same, the crisis has opened up other opportunity, because we as a human being, we are known to find out a solution. If you close all the door, we will find out some solution. So I think digital had a huge role to play, and this experiments are still going on, and so that is where we come in the picture, right?
Exactly.
And we are talking about pandemic and crisis here. So what's the marketing survival toolkit for any marketer, any startup owner during a time of crisis?
Okay, I mean, crisis or no crisis, Devlina, there has to be a survival toolkit for all of us in any situation, I believe. And if I have to justify it, just keeping crisis into mind, I think one of the only toolkit which marketers should have in their mind, in their bags, should be a mindset of ROI. Anything and everything you spend, you need to think like an entrepreneur. So forget if you're a brand manager or a marketing head or maybe a sales guy. If you don't start thinking like an entrepreneur, in a crisis situation especially, you wouldn't let yourself grow and the organization grow. I think that's the biggest thing which everyone should take it. And I really believe, apart from that, if you have to keep things very basic, the most important thing a marketer should do is ensuring the objectives which they are doing it, having objectives in place. That objective could be awareness, conversion, engagement, growth, penetration, whatever, and evaluating that objectives, evaluating the output of the business campaign against those objectives. Take for an example, Evelina, there's a marketer who's put his objective as awareness. And the campaign is over, things are finished, and he sits after 2 months, he sits back and evaluates his objective against conversion. Yaar, dhanda nahi aaya. Imagine you created a campaign for awareness and you go ahead and you start thinking that business has not come. You are landing yourself into a failure at this out. So measure yourself where you have optimized to put things into place. I think that's basic. Every marketer should do it. And I would recommend most of the marketers which are already started adopting technology. So do not alienate technology from your day-to-day activities. I mean, within in crisis right now, if you have to give an example, technology is not an enemy to take away human jobs. Technology is basically helping you to crystallize things for you, which will help you to get a better output basis whatever objective you would have thought. So I'll just give an example about technologies like, for example, AI. I keep saying AI, sorry, but that's what I love talking about. But technologies like AI will help you to go back, read a history of your marketing campaigns for years, and come back and tell you that Neil, you have done this 10 things wrong in last 6 months. Do not implement the same thing again. I mean, that's where AI plays a big role. And a human being wouldn't manually be impossible for that human being to ensure what he has done 6 months back wrong and redo the same thing today. So I think adapt to technologies in such ways, I think that's another marketing tool. And in a very simple way, I think adapting to new things, learning and unlearning things is very important to crisis. I mean, crisis is a very different situation. You would have learned something for years, which would have happened in a very normalized world. Right. But it is very important you unlearn those things when you are put into a situation like this. I think these are, few of the examples of survival toolkits, which is a no-brainer actually.
Right. So learning, unlearning, and relearning is the basic of every, not a crisis. I feel as a human being and in marketing, I mean, as marketing is one of the most dynamic functions. So learning, unlearning, and relearning is the most important and crucial factor right now. And if I have to sum it up, the marketing survival toolkit, so as you said, the intent for which we are spending the marketing, which we put while starting the marketing part, is very, very important to remember, right? So and think like an entrepreneur. So and being an entrepreneur, what I feel ki entrepreneurship is not just your job or profession. It is an attitude which anybody can implement in themselves, and you can implement your principles in any point of time in life. So I think that
very well said. I think most of the organizations these days, if you see, Devleena, be it Vodafone, L'Oreal or Pixis together, I think most of the organizations have their visions and objectives for their employees to think like an entrepreneur. And at the same time, if you recently see employee shares has been started picking up more and more weightage into an employee reimbursement or a compensation. Why are organizations doing that? Because they want them to feel like an entrepreneur. You own the organization, you have shares of the organization, so you start thinking in that way. I think that's the basic step. Most of us are taking it in the right direction, and hopefully we see a great future together.
Yeah, and that gives you a lot of power. I mean, internal power, at the same time, a lot of responsibility to take care of. And at the same time, you start looking for more and more responsibility towards yourself, your family, your office, and your society. In a larger way.
Exactly.
So, Neil, we have been spending a lot of time in the last 12-15 months. So, my next question is very different. What is the most interesting work you have done in last 12-15 months out of your work?
This is really interesting. I think there is a lot of interesting things happening in my life, personally and professionally, in last 12 months. And if you have to ask me, the most important thing personally in my life, I would say I got married in May this year, and I guess that's the bestest thing ever happened to me, not only in last 12 months, maybe in my entire life. So I think that's why I'm really excited for that. And on the professional side,
for that.
Thank you so much. And on the professional side, if you ask me, moving into a CEO's role at an AI platform is something new and challenging, which I've picked up. So I think if you, if you see my career in the past, I've always been a cost center. I've been spending, I've been ensuring there are marketing spends, media spends, digital spends. I'm looking at from that perspective. But now getting into this hat, and I'm going to polish my skills, existing skills of P&L management, leading business growth, I think there's lots of new things which I have been exposed in last 12 months, and a 1 minute answer wouldn't be sufficient for that.
Yes,
So
yes. I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, so that's about it. I think I'm
So
really
yeah,
excited for this.
because I understand 1 minute answer why it is not sufficient, because I think when we shut our outdoor work and we just came inside our home and we have explored the new of our us, right? So newer version, and a lot of interesting work we all might have done in that, right?
Exactly.
So I'm sure. Uh, now we are moving to a very interesting section, which is one of my favorite section, which is a rapid fire round, and you need to answer in one word, Neil, here.
If I get a hamper after that or not, tell me that. Then I will answer accordingly.
That we are going to decide after your answers.
Just
So-
thank you. Yes.
What is leadership according to you?
Okay, I mean, I've been believing this for years now. I think there are things which you can do, there are things which someone else can do, and when we bring all of them together to do great things. I think that's what leadership is mean. I mean, I might be an expert at one thing, someone might be expert at some other things, but we come together and we do unbelievably great things. Is
Oh.
what leadership is to me.
Awesome, amazing definition of leadership, Neil. It's a different dimension of leadership definition which you have just. Are you a morning
That's
person
right.
or an Are you a morning person or a night owl?
That depends upon what day of the week you ask me. If you're
Okay.
asking me on a weekday, I would say I'm a very early riser and I love to read my newspapers and do stuff. But if you ask me the same question on a weekend, I would say I'm a night owl who love to be awake till late and get up around 6.
Great. So one brand which has the greatest influence on you.
I think it's a no-brainer for me because I'm someone who loves technology, and there's no better brand than Apple who brings the most of the innovations in the technology. So I think that's one brand which comes to my mind first.
Best professional advice you have given to someone.
Professional advice I would have given: spend more time with your family. Because you really get carried away into a professional term, but until you are mentally prepared and personally attached to your family, you won't give your 100% outside.
True. What is your hidden talent, Neil? It's not
I
going to
rarely
be
forget.
hidden.
I rarely forget things. I don't keep a reminder for anything.
Wow, that's a gift. That's a
Maybe.
awesome.
Maybe.
One book or podcast you would like to recommend the marketers?
I mean, I will just elaborate on this question, not in one word, because podcast is something I've been loving it these days, because instead of spending my time listening to a lot of music while I'm driving or I'm into a car, I've moved into a podcast listening for on Spotify, Apple, wherever. So I think I love podcasts. There's no one podcast, but if I have to refer a book, I would definitely refer a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And on podcast, there's no one podcast. I think I've switched my behavior of listening to podcasts instead of music while driving from work to home or home to work. I think that's an interesting way. If you have free time, listen to podcast and educate yourself.
Right. And recently, in fact, I have started exploring a lot of podcasts and this Clubhouse, because instead of looking at the Zoom and meetings, you really feel like just to listen, and you can just come out of any group any couple of times. So that's relief.
Exactly.
So one of your biggest professional mentor, Neil?
So my brother Jay has been my go-to person for everything, professionally and personally. But if you ask me a professional mentor, there's not one. I mean, there are two guys in my life who have been really helped me build. One is someone called Tan, Srinandan Sundaran. He works into HUL. He was the one who guided me and mentored me to reach into a career where I am today, and he pushed me that and supported me. And there's another guy called Asim Kaushik from L'Oreal. I think he's the world's best leader I've ever seen in my life. His ways of working and other stuff, I try and adapt. If I get 10% of him also, I think I will be in a nirvana mode. I think these are the three guys I really admire and follow and listen to them.
One thing you have done which made you extremely proud.
Okay, I think so. I'm not a very renowned B school graduate. I always thought, IIMs of the world or IITs of the world are the best guys and XYZ. I'm not from that B school. But the day the IIMs and IITs called me for a lecture to give to their students, I think that was the most proud feeling I ever had till date.
Wow.
That, experience is far bigger than where you come from.
So, what is your message to aspiring startup leaders on marketing?
Okay, this is a very personal answer, Devlina, I would give to this, because this is what I believe has worked for me and will work for me in the future. I think there are three things which startup marketer or leaders need to treat. First, I told you earlier, treat your organization as your own organization. Get the entrepreneur approach in a startup industry, wherever you go. If you're a founder, obviously you're an entrepreneur, but if you're a leader in a startup, don't treat that organization as just an employee to that organization, but treat that as an entrepreneur. Grow the organization. The more the organization grows, you will grow. I think that's basic. Second thing, I again mentioned this earlier, I think, Devlina, is about ability to learn and unlearn. And the field outside startup is very different. It's excellent. You have got great knowledge out of that field. But the industry, the ecosystem of startup is way different than the outside ecosystem. So learn ability to unlearn few things in which a corporate world going into a startup world. I think that's really important. You should have it. And lastly, I again said this earlier, give your family as much as time you give to the startup world. You will do fabulously well in it. I think if you do these three things, you're a great marketing. You will succeed in whatever you're doing.
It's a great insight, Neil. As you said, family is the backbone. See, once you are relaxed, once you're happy, you are loved, then you feel, conquered. You can conquer the world outside for sure. So that is the backbone for any individual and a need, of course, right? And learn, unlearn, and relearn is something which has no option at all. I mean, we just cannot, carry our learnings and keep moving forward. So, and think like an entrepreneur. So, thanks for that. That keeps us moving, being an entrepreneur. Incredible conversation, Neil. I mean, that was one of the most engaging conversation by far for me. So thank you for your time and valuable key insights for us. There were a lot of things which we have discussed in AI, in programmatic and data, and I'm sure there are a lot of things to explore more, right? So we will catch up once again, probably to dig deep on each and everything in future, I'm sure. And thank you so much for your valuable time, Neil. It is going to help a lot of in a wide way to our viewers, I'm sure.